So I haven't done much with this painting since last week. I did a little bit more than I think the end of the video. Just kind of added some more yellow and whatever. It's been a busy week. A lot of new things happening and a lot of new I think information and insights. That cave experience I think really just really changed something for me. I've been a lot more thoughtful and grounded and not reacting and just like cheerful. Even I've had some weird news and things come in this week, and a few things that would have made me one that would have made me really really down, I guess, and kind of upset for a while and worried, and I just wasn't. And then another that I think I would have been offended, and I wasn't. It just felt clear, felt separate, really, or from a way of thinking. But I felt very clear and grounded in myself, and not just not reactionary. So I'm really pleased with that, and I'm really grateful to have had that experience in the cave, and I really think that had a lot to do with it. I think the breathing and the energy clearing that we did there, I think that really did a lot for me, and I've been reflecting on that a lot, and I just feel really good. I feel like I'm processing things really well. So hopefully I'm painting really well too. But that brings up a first idea that I have. Okay, so since I've had this big change, and something I thought about doing was maybe turning the canvas. Instead of starting from this V shape where I was before, maybe looking for another shape. And I thought like maybe I would do something in here. And as I look at these, I kind of look at the different shapes, and I've eliminated this one, and I was gonna do maybe something here, and I look at this shape, and I think like this is like, look, this is very round, this is very gentle, this is smaller, but it has some more variation, and then this one is like, I feel like this is the last piece. And so of these areas, I'm having trouble like deciding which one I really want to work on. Like, do I want to work down here or here? And I think here. I think I was hesitating, and I thought maybe I would only do like a partial turn. But now that I turn that and look at it, I'm like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I want to be involved here. Still, maybe here. I feel like there. And do I want to come at it from this side, or do I want to make it this way? And now I'm seeing this mark that I made there probably by accident, and now I feel a little better about this way. But I mean, it could turn out to be anything. We really don't know. I'm like, this is like the Mr. Rogers sweater of my house. I wear it for everything, and I did realize the other day as I was about to leave the house in it that maybe I should not wear my house sweater / robe / house coat, whatever. Maybe I should like wear something decent to leave the house. But anyway, so I didn't plan on painting today. I didn't think I was going to do anything. It's a beautiful day, and there's a lot of festivals and things and fall stuff that I thought we would do, and there are a bunch of like Halloween plays that I really wanted to see, and I usually take my daughter to everything at a playhouse nearby, but she's not feeling well, so I'm gonna I've done all of the tea and soup and and kind of care things, and I've done all the laundry and cleaning up, and so I still want to paint a little bit. I've been thinking about the things of this week, and I want to kind of let it out. And I think that that's what these have been. There's a couple different kinds of painting or drawing or whatever that I do, and some of it is to, you know, kind of practice or work on skills or whatever and make something that makes me proud of myself, right? And sometimes I just want to do, like, sometimes I'm just pushing out feelings. I'm processing sometimes, and sometimes I'm just letting things out. So this one I'm doing a little bit of both of those. Last time I think I don't know what I was doing, like I just felt something that needed to come out and move. And this time it's kind of like maybe a little bit I want to interpret my own thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to let them come out on the canvas and then, you know, try to interpret it for myself, like look at what's coming out and think maybe that can help me solidify what I'm doing. And some of this is something that I do, I've talked about in another video that's totally elsewhere that you've never seen probably. It's kind of like journaling, but when I do it with shapes and color and just visually like this, sometimes with a pen, it just helps me let things out that I just don't really have words for, or that words would make it confused. It's almost like before I have words. This is when I have feelings, but I don't have words. So why am I talking then if I don't have words? So here we are. We have still this nasty palette because it was still in the room, and my trusty nasty paint towel. But I do have clean water and brushes. I thought I picked up another brush. And I shut the closet door, so you can't see what mess I had back there. Oh, there it is. I knew I pulled out another brush. So, found a bigger brush. We'll see how it goes. So this time I pulled out a mix of things. So this isn't the fluorescent paint. This is just regular acrylic. The acrylic is not heavy body. It's just regular acrylic. It's a little chunky. I'm not sure about that. Something else I do, instead of using medium, sometimes I use like just cheap paint, acrylic, sometimes craft paint as a medium, you know, and blend out the color a little bit, because then, I don't know, it's just stuff I have laying around, so I tend to mix things up. Okay, so I've mixed up this sort of blue. I love this color blue, and I use it all the time, even though in my mind right now I kind of want to use red. I want to use a red, but I didn't do that yet. So I'm going to fool around with blue. Should I get red? Should I go get the red? I've already mixed up the blue. You know what if we do, this is a tough decision. So I feel like red goes here, but if I put blue there, it's not going to be right. And so I have this already on my brush, and I'm thinking, like, I should put it somewhere. I didn't mix this up for nothing. Should I try it? Should I try it someplace else? But that means that, you know, I have to change something. Oh, what a decision. So I'm going to put it here. I see this little bit here, and I'm going to put some blue in it. And I'm just going to see how it goes. Now this is typically against my rules, and this is actually maybe a good time to think about something that happened this week. Okay, so I ended up in a discussion about working from home and the camera, right? And you know, the prevailing thought was that they wanted people to get on camera, and people didn't want to. And that, I found myself kind of thinking, my thoughts on that are different than the other people's thoughts, right? So, their view was that everybody should get on the camera. And much like, oh, okay, well, everybody, like, our discussion is on how to encourage people to get on camera, or that was sort of the start of the discussion, much like me having the blue, like, oh, okay, we're talking about encouraging people to get on camera, and I don't really think people need to be on camera if they don't want to. I'm sure they have reasons. And, but, in the interest of, oh, okay, so the problem we're solving is what could we do to encourage people to get on camera? And I'm like, well, some people are just uncomfortable. They don't like to see themselves, blah, blah, blah. Be encouraging but the discussion evolved. And it became what seemed to me about a couple of things that have also entered my life lately. Like, well, why does it have to be? Why do they have to be? Because you want them to? Because that's what you want? And this is like me, like, do I love what's happening here? Not really, I'm just kind of doing it. I'm putting blue in here. What I really wanted to do is red, but that's what I was going to do. That's what I started with before, and so, like, yeah, we'll just put some blue in. It's already here. It was already on my brush. It's already on that's the color scheme that we already have going here. That's what we always do, right? Like, that's what it builds into to me in my mind. Like, it's what we always do. But, we don't need to do what we've always done. I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, I don't think anybody should do things just because they've always done it that way. I mean, if it works, if you're happy with it, then great. But if there's a problem, like that people aren't, don't want to do it, instead of thinking of it as a way to solve, how do I get people to do what we've always done, my thought was, well, if you have a bunch of people that don't want to do it, does it still need to be done? And why? And then, good answers, body language, things like that. And I thought, like, yeah, but I've also been thinking about neurodiversity and that paint night that I'll be doing. And I was trying to, be as inclusive as possible for people with all levels of ability, not just physical ability, but, for people who are not neurotypical. And so I was looking at some forums and things online, people talking about it. And one of the things that they included was that when people say, they don't say what they mean. Okay, so there's like, I do this with my daughter all the time, and it didn't really occur to me. I would say things like, do you want to go, put your dishes in the sink? And she would say, no. And I thought, well, that's kind of funny. But now looking at it in this other, in this other way, neurodiversity and how the world is built for neurotypical people, and how I feel about it's built for extroverts too, and I'm an introvert. And so working from home and being off camera and not being in the presence of like everybody's feelings and moods around me is fantastic. I mean, I just love that. It's very hard for me to keep other people, and their energy away from me and not, not bothering. It's not hard sometimes, but it's something I have to think about and put energy into, and then that's energy that comes away from what I'm trying to work on. Anyway, so, I kind of thought about all of these things, and I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense to me that we never had to think about these things before, and now they're here. So instead of thinking of it as, how do we make things now work the old way, what if we looked at it as an opportunity to do things differently, and that might be a better way, right? So we're not just patching up the old way. and saying like, well, you know, now we can't be in person to see each other, so now we have to be on camera to see each other. And otherwise we don't have, we don't have the body language components, so we don't understand what each other is saying. And then I kind of thought like, why don't we just say what we mean in the first place? I mean, that's easier for a lot of people, right? It's not an accommodation, like they talked about somebody who needs accommodation. It's not accommodation. It's a different way of thinking. Like maybe it's better if we just say what we mean and kind of cut away all of this extra stuff that we've built up. And I kind of was thinking that really fits in to some other things that were going on with me. Kind of like when you're dealing with people, like when I was traveling and I didn't speak anything other than English, if they spoke slowly I could understand, or if I spoke slowly they could understand me, things like that. Not using slang, like, it's all kind of rolled into one for me, like these sort of changes that maybe have come about. And then I thought about that with the other thing that came up this week that sort of confused me. It was, I don't know, made me a little nervous. There was another thing that came up. I'm going to use a marker now, and I hope this comes out well because I'm just going to stick it right on here. But for some reason I want to use something that I have greater control of. As I'm sitting here talking about people who want control of something, and I think they should have less control. As I'm talking about having less control, with the old way, I'm picking up an instrument that gives me more control in some ways than a brush. So I don't know what that's about. I don't really know. I'm sort of kind of taking on that topic while I'm drawing and not thinking about it. So the other thing that came up then, had an opportunity to sort of take advantage of a situation. And, I was very tempted to do that. And, it would have been good. It's not, it would have been a good thing. Okay, so I always like to get to the edge of things and get, this is a gallery wrapped canvas, so you could just hang it on the wall without doing anything. Since it's a straight color, I can always do that later. I had an opportunity, and I kind of had to make a decision. I did have to make a decision. And I was like, oh, that would make my life a lot easier if I made a particular choice. It'd be simple and, solve. Ooh, see, look, now I see this. I see this coming around. As I did that, I didn't realize these two were here, but these come together. And so there's a shape here that wants to be. I don't know if you can see it, but I drew them separately and they kind of looped back around to each other. It's not developed, it'll have to come out later. So anyway, I had this opportunity and I thought, oh, it's really tempting. I'm really tired of dealing with the situation. And a little like this, right? Like, ooh, look, there's an opportunity. Like they link, they come around. And usually when that happens, I have this whole thing like, ooh, now I'm going to build this whole thing out of that. But it was just a little connection, right? It was just a small one. And there's going to be a lot more building. And, it's not, maybe that opportunity isn't as good as it seems on the surface. Just like, this was like, ooh, those connect. And usually I have like a really strong feeling about that shape that comes in, but it really is just kind of a background player, right? It's not, it's not the big thing that I thought it would be. And so this sort of circles around. See how these things come out so I didn't take this opportunity. I'm going to get some more paint here. I want to use red. And I'm going to put a few different reds out here. I'm not really sure which one I'm gonna end up with. I always like bright red, like really bright red, but it's not always. Ooh, look at that, that's nice. You can't see it. You're gonna have to imagine this beautiful bright red that I just stuck in there. And I'm gonna throw a little fluorescent at it as well, just to have some extra stuff to work with. Okay, so I'm back. Look at these beautiful, beautiful reds all over this mess of a. Okay, so I didn't take this opportunity. Just like a few minutes ago, I had the opportunity to jump right in with the red, and I kind of instead put some brush strokes that I don't like and some muddy blue because it was already on my brush. But you know, it'll build in later, and it's always good to bring some darks into it. But now I'm a little warmed up, and I'm going to stick that red in that makes no particular sense, but for some reason I just want to do red. So I didn't take it because I thought about it, and it wasn't right. It wasn't. It was easier. It was still right. I mean, it wasn't like wrong. It was advantageous to me, but in the big picture, you know, like many years from now, if I look back on it, would I be proud of myself? And the answer was no. I could justify it, but I wouldn't have been proud of myself. And it really only took me, you know, a few hours of milling it over to really come to that conclusion. So I didn't do it. Now, remember last time I told you, you know, normally I would start in the corner. I'm starting in the corner. Okay, I just autopiloted myself right to the corner instead of even thinking about what does the canvas want to say, right? Because this time the canvas isn't talking to me, right? I'm not looking at the canvas to let it tell me what to say. I'm sort of thinking about these things. They're on my mind, and just doing whatever shows up. Because those meanings, this time the canvas isn't just like, this time I'm doing a feelings diary, I guess, you know, or an impressions diary where I'm just letting some things come out, and I'm letting myself be attracted to shapes and colors that without thinking about it, right? Like I just talk about my stuff, and then I do this in the background of my mind, right? Now I'm just mixing them all together because I kind of like how that turned out. And now I feel like I'm just coloring. I feel like I'm just coloring things in, but we'll let it do what it does. So like here, now I've just noticed the canvas saying something, and I like when I can push in like this. I don't know what I'm doing, but anyway, I think that there's, you know, a difference. I think there's immediate. I think there are all these decisions that we make that, you know, you have to do day to day. And I really annoyed people with my views on the working from home, I think. And that I don't think anybody needs to be on camera. And I think that, you know, we're kind of missing this opportunity to expand our thinking completely. And instead of thinking, how do I get people to go on camera because camera replicates being in person, what completely different opportunities do we have to think of what advantage is there to not being on camera? You know, I mean, that's a harder thing to think about because it's always been the other way. But what is the advantage? What is the long term? Maybe we can engage people who didn't engage well, I should say, who got shut out by the old way. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, whatever it is. There are a whole lot of different things, but for everything there's that, right? So there are a lot of different rights. There are many right answers. And the stuff that came to me this week was really, I guess, about that. I mean, there isn't right or wrong in some of these things. There's perspectives. I want to say viewpoints. I don't know if that's the right word, but what do you do when you're both right and you're both wrong? And that was kind of what I had to think about. In the one situation, it wasn't that, two people are right and wrong. That wasn't really the setup of it. It wasn't a question of, am I right and the other person is wrong, or is this decision right and the other decision is wrong? Both could work out well. Both can walk away happy. Everyone involved could get something out of it. But it's tough, isn't it? Like, what do you do with that? We're brought up with this idea that there's right and wrong, and this idea that our whole culture is based on it, right? Like, when you can't decide it, where things with law goes to a judge and somebody makes a decision. But in the bigger picture, and pulling it all together, so we communicate, and we communicate differently, and we interpret things differently. So while we're saying that we need body language to be able to understand what a person means, if that body language isn't interpreted consistently, then you're actually miscommunicating because of it. So if a person doesn't look you in the eye, and that means that they're not interested, or if they're fidgeting or they're doing something else while you're there, while you're supposed to be in a meeting, and you're supposed to be paying attention, but they see you looking off in the corner, or you're doing something else, that doesn't mean you're not listening necessarily. It might, but that person might be their way of handling focus, handling the anxiety of being on camera, handling feeling like there's no separation between work and home, and their sanctuary. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at that. But in any event, what that person is doing, you're not operating off of a common interpretation of body language. You're not operating off a common interpretation of tone. And as far as the right and wrong, these decisions, because we come from completely different viewpoints, maybe that's where viewpoint fits in. Because we're coming from completely different viewpoints, what I consider right, that person might not consider right. Or when I consider both of these choices are right, or one of them, or whatever, we're not talking in a common language of right and wrong, because we're not talking in a common language of value. So we make these simple judgments and say, well, do you care? Do you care about, this outcome, this situation, this, do you care? And if you do, A, B, and C, you care. And if you do X, Y, and Z, you don't care. But the other person may not have that same language, that A, B, and C means care and X, Y, and Z doesn't. And that has plagued this situation for such a long time. Then having the same thing happen, in a completely different way, having what seemed to me a similar underlying discussion. I don't know what the solution is to it. I mean, I know that I made a decision, I made what I think was certainly not, maybe not the best decision for me, but what I think is best, that's the choice that I made. And I don't know. I think there's, what is the solution? What just came to mind was agree to disagree, but that doesn't solve anything. That just means that you're, you know, I mean, to me, it usually means like, well, I'm right, I'm not listening to anything else. But what it really means, like, it just ends. You just end it. You say, I can't solve this, and so it's gone. But I think that maybe what I came to, and maybe part of, having some of that healing um, going on with not just the cave, but like all of the stuff that I've been doing in the last year or so. You know, I've been, it's been a little less than a year, I think. I've been like kind of on this journey to, move into the next part of my life, and move into it really consciously. Move into it, everything else in life I've just sort of stumbled into. And, I just wander around and I just work with whatever turns up, and, sometimes it's great. And so, there's a lot of highs and lows this way, right? Because you have no, there's no manifestation, there's no intention. And I've been lucky because things have generally worked out pretty well for me. I've taken a few hits, but not, I've been really lucky. I have a fortunate life, so I don't like this. I'm not sure what am I making here. Oh, okay, I like that. I have a really fortunate life, and things really do always work out for me, one way or the other. But this year I've been really intentional about it. Getting older, and really middle age. I turned 50. I made lifestyle changes. I've had a lot of change in the last few years, and the first part of that was just sort of a few decisions that snowballed into really big changes, and then in the last year I've been settling into that and getting really intentional, and just different things, a lot of meditation, stop drinking, really kind of working on being clear with myself. What do you want to do with the rest? With the rest of my life, what do I want that to look like? What am I trying to, when I check out, when it's all over, what will I have done? I'm a little nervous here because I want to take this big chunk out, and I'm not sure if that's going to work, but I'm going to do it. So, how will I feel about the end? And am I building toward that now? No, I don't like this little thing. So, I've started to think about these things, and I don't know what else I'm going to do with them except kind of improve my life with them, I guess, and my relationships and family and stuff like that. But it kind of all came up this week with that. And this looks like somebody's giving me the finger. Okay, we have to fix it. That's not my intention. Still, it doesn't want to go away. Look at it. No, I insist on giving you the finger. I insist. I think that these things that came up for me this week, I want to make this one, really had a lot to do with resolution. In the one, I was proud of myself for not getting freaked out. And the other, I was proud of myself for not feeling kind of, rejected, I guess. Or, sometimes when you have these, you express something like, or when I have, I should say, when I've expressed being different, thinking differently, and everybody else is like, they push back, then I feel a combination of a little embarrassed that I put my idea out there, and sort of rejected, and resentful that that people would not accept my my idea or even consider it. And in saying that, it makes me realize that maybe I need to take that advice a little further. And then I didn't take advantage of a decision that I could have, a situation that I could have. And maybe that's only part of the way there. Maybe I really need to think a little further, all the way around it, and try to get that other perspective that I'm trying to say other people should get. So that's something to think about. That's something to think about here. And as I say that, you notice that all of my shapes are getting a little more rounded, and I'm kind of compelled to smooth out the edges, right? So I think that was an accident, but there are no accidents. So as I look at this, what started out maybe a little like these shapes, right? Like what do they feel like here? I mean, they feel a little like a hand or like a mouth eating something. It feels, the bright red kind of feels a little, step back and look into it. Like as I put this on here, I started out, well, I'll just stick with what I've already committed to. I loaded up this brush and I got these paints out. Let me just stick to it. And what did I do? I contained it. I created a barrier for this area that I was going to do in red, and then it has this really kind of bright, the color being both attractive and maybe a little aggressive, right? Maybe there's something in that I'm containing. Here's this peaceful green, the stuff that was there before, and when I, kind of reminded me of the cave and that really relaxing time. So this is the part where I think about, like, what's in my mind? What am I feeling? And that's what I'm feeling here. I'm feeling like, do I have this, like, these strong feelings? I have this, like, this, it's both passionate and a little dangerous, and it's a little, it's aggressive. The shapes that I have, though, as I talk about it, they start to smooth out, and it's kind of like, I see like a plant, but I also see like somebody's face, like eating something, and like a hand like grabbing at something. And as I look at it it looks a little like a skull in a way, right? As I look at it in the video, back at myself. So I think that there might be something, sort of an incubation here, right? Like it's like a womb. It's got a bit of a womb feeling to it. Skeleton, kind of this shape, and I'm protecting it. I'm building this, kind of wall. When we think back to how I got to that blue, it was something like, well, this is what I started with. It's what fits and whatever. And I'm building that wall around it. But maybe I have something that is a little scary, but, like, which one is it? Is it aggressive? Is it passionate? Is it, what am I incubating here? It's bright, and it's away from my conventional life, and there's that wall of conventionality, like, normalcy, I guess, right? Like I'm building this wall here, and then there's this piece, and then there's this, like, something going on in there, but what is it? And that's the part that, I don't necessarily know, because in some ways I see it as threatening, and in some ways I see it as growth. So like plant, womb, all that has a growth feeling to it, but then kind of softening some of the edges. It's like, maybe I'm coming to accept some of that and maybe use it, maybe use those, what would have taken me down before, like maybe very upset, or I'd obsess on it and I'd be really worried and afraid, really, because what's at the bottom of all that is fear, right? There's only really love and fear. And, maybe that's what that's about. I have this, instead of letting those challenging decisions and people and situations, instead of letting those challenging parts kind of bleed into everything, right? Contain it and use it to grow. Maybe there's something about that in there. But whether I'm growing a skeleton, a baby plant, a bald dude like Mr. Burns here, like eating, I don't know what, a skull. So that part I don't know, but there is definitely a separation between the old and the new, the old ways and the peacefulness maybe that I've been looking for and building. There is still something under that, and maybe it's not about eliminating that aggression and passion, and but maybe it's about being able to control it and use it wisely for like discovery, creativity, something. That doesn't seem quite right. I'm not sure what. But we're getting there. We're getting into an idea. So I babbled for a while, but that's where we are today. This is musings of my weird week, and still processing, my cave and the previous experiences leading up to it, and unexpected time because I have a sick child who I'm going to go check on. So if anybody watched this, that's great. But I kind of enjoy working out these thoughts, and I don't think I would do that if I wasn't taking a video.